Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and joining me is LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are your hosts. We're broadcasting live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the blogtalkradio.com network, bringing you some of the best golfers, teaching professionals, and entrepreneurs helping to elevate women's golf. We're so glad you decided to join us this morning, so grab your coffee and let's get started.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, your host. Normally joining me alongside would be LPGA professional and Legends Tour player Cindy Miller, but she is actually currently at the airport, I believe heading to Milwaukee, and the reception there was just not very good, and she had a difficult time hearing me, and I had a little bit of trouble hearing her. So she's decided to cancel out coming on this morning, but we've got a great show for you anyways. I'm going to had a discussion planned for the first half, for the first half, and then a little bit later on we were going to be joined by our special guest, Debbie O'Connell, LPGA professional, speaker, and author. She will be coming on the second half of the show still, and I will be, as they say, batching it here on the first half. But I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for tuning in this morning, and I apologize that Cindy is not going to be joining me here this morning, and she sends her apologies as well. All right, so I want to just start off and just by a couple things here. First off, we have two more shows this week, next Tuesday and then the following Tuesday, and then we'll be taking an extended break, if you will, for the season, obviously to observe the Christmas holidays, and actually a little bit longer. We won't be coming back until the first Tuesday of February. I'm not 100% sure. I think the date, if I'm not mistaken, is February 4th. But if you check your calendars, you'll you'll be able to see the first Tuesday of February. We'll be coming back on air, and the same will apply for my other program. For those of you that maybe tune into both shows, I do another program Thursday evenings from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on the same network, blogtalkradio.com, called Golf Talk Live. And we've got a show, of course, this Thursday coming up, and a couple of more shows to follow then. I think the last one, if I'm not mistaken, is December 19th, in around that date. And then we'll be breaking as well on that show until the first Thursday of February. Also for the Coach's Corner segment on Golf Talk Live, just to let everybody know, for any of the coaches that may be tuning into this morning's broadcast, I'll be sending out here in the next week or so a new clean schedule, if you will, for the 2020 season. Coach's Corner, of course, is a segment on Golf Talk Live Thursday evenings. It doesn't actually officially start until the first Thursday of March. So normally start off a little bit light with just some interviews in February, and then we kick into the full broadcast on the first Thursday of March. Until the end of the season. So got a lot of great things coming up for 2020. Also, just of note, I wanted to mention as well, I'm actually launching a new platform, if you will, called the iGolf Sports Network. It's going to be a live stream broadcast. I'll be giving you more information as the weeks unfold through social media and other areas. But it's going to be a very, very interesting platform. Of course, iGolfSports.com is going to be the live stream arm, if you will, of the network. We'll still be doing the podcasts, the Women of Golf Show, and also Golf Talk Live. So you want to stay tuned for that. It's going to be a very, very interesting new concept coming out, if you will. I think you're going to really enjoy it. The official launch date hasn't been set officially, if you will, but I'm shooting for around early spring, maybe even into May, just depending on how everything comes together. But everything is starting to move fairly quickly, so hopefully I'll be able to meet on that deadline. So keep an eye out for iGolf Sports Network. Again, I will be putting some things through social media over the next month or two. All right, so as I mentioned, Cindy's not going to be joining me this morning, so I'm going to sort of try to muzzle through, if I can, a conversation for the next 20 minutes before Debbie comes on board. And a couple things that I want to talk about, and we've done some of these questions on the Coach's Corner panel on Golf Talk Live, which airs, as I mentioned, Thursday evenings. And one of the questions that I posed to the panel in our discussion was, what should a tour pro or a high-level player take away if he or she wins an event and if he loses an event? What are some of the takeaways, if you will? We obviously had some interesting answers, and I'm going to give you my perspective on that as well. So first off, let's talk about the pros, and then I'm going to have a follow-up question, if you will, to this discussion, and that is, what can the amateurs or how can they benefit from some of that takeaway that the pros might have? So here, let's start off first off with obviously for professional wins. Obviously, they're going to get a nice purse, nice check at the end of the event. But obviously, they're going to have a lot of positive reinforcement of their game, a level of confidence that's going to escalate, if you will, somewhat, because they know that they're able to make the things happen that they need to be able to successfully win the tournament. And obviously, a lot of the professionals, unlike many amateurs out there, spend a great deal of time and resources preparing for these events. So when they come through and they're able to successfully win an event, it just reaffirms and reassures that they're doing all the right things. And obviously, there's some luck in there as well. I mean, you're playing on average with a full field most weeks, and so you're playing against some of the other best. So it's just nice to know that you're able to stand toe-to-toe with some of the best players in the world. So it gives you a whole level of confidence. But more importantly, when you don't win the event, what are some of the takeaways? Well, some of the takeaways from that is, believe it or not negative. It gives you a better focus on your game, what areas didn't hold up through the tournament. For instance, maybe your putting let you down. You hit some great shots. You were solid off the tee and hit some great approach shots, and even your recovery shots when needed came through. However, once you got on the dance floor, as they say, the putter just seemed to let you down. So those weaker areas of your game tend to stand out more when you're not playing your best. And I think this is something that the professionals take away. And I want to make a note here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it again in the second question, if you will, or the second part of this discussion, and that is obviously the amateur players. But one thing that you may notice with the professional players when you're watching the event is they don't make changes once they get out on the golf course. Obviously, they practice up before they get out there on the practice tee and work out any last-minute bugs or kinks. But traditionally, what they will do is when they come to the course that day, whatever game that they find on the practice tee or on the driving range is what they're going to play with that day. And hopefully, it will be solid all the way around. But as I said, sometimes there might be some weak areas. It could be putting. It could be their short, other areas of their short game, or they might not be too accurate off the tee that particular day. So they're going to work with what they have and make the best of the situation. The one thing that you will not see most professionals, very few, in fact, I don't really know of anybody off the top of my head, you will not see them make swing changes. You will not see them suddenly doing a lot of different things out there. They will work with what they've got. They will make the best of the situation, and whatever changes they may make are going to be so minute that you wouldn't be able to pick them up anyways. And that's key. And it brings me, as I said, to the second part, and that is what can an amateur golfer, many of you out there that are struggling with your game, what can you take away from the tour pros? Well, first and foremost, they're not going to win every single event, and neither are you. So if you're playing in a corporate event or if you're playing in your club championship, unless you're somebody that is a very well-accomplished player and have lots of confidence, maybe you've won the event a number of times over the years, that gives you that confidence going in, you're certainly not going to be expected to win each and every year. Now, obviously, there are some exceptions to the rule. There's some really good players out there that have stood toe-to-toe with their fellow club professionals and also maybe some of their amateur partners and may have that. But again, that's a very rare situation. More and more often, they're going to get out there and struggle and have difficulties like the rest of us. and try to make the best of it. But one of the things that I want people to take away is the preparation. If you look at most of the professionals, again, if you've ever been to a live event, whether it be a PGA or an LPGA or any of the other tours, and visit the practice tee or the driving range, if you will, you'll notice a consistency among all the players. Now, certainly they'll talk and maybe walk up and down the line and have some general conversation with some of their fellow players, but they will focus on their routines, whatever their pre-shot routine is, how they address the ball, how they look for their line of sight, and so on and so forth. They're not just hitting and raking balls. They're going through their pre-shot routine each and every time for every shot that they make out there. And the reason why they're doing that is they're reinforcing and regraining, if you will, those good effects, if you will, in trying to produce the consistency in their game. They're not just hitting one shot this time and then just sort of raking another ball over and hitting another shot. And the reason why they do that is, again, they're trying to develop a consistent pattern that they can take out into the golf course with them. One of the things that, and I'm sure if Cindy was here would agree with me, is that most amateurs don't follow or adhere to that pattern. Many of them get out there and they start to struggle, if you will. They fall out of their routine. They might start off for the first couple of holes with some sort of a pre-shot routine that they've developed, but many times what will happen as soon as the wheels fall off the bus, if you will, they will start to get into a situation where their routine is no longer happening. So, for example, they might go through their pre-shot routine on the first tee, and maybe their tee shot does quite well. It's not necessarily the center of the fairway, but they've hit a good tee shot. They get up there and they'll go through that routine again. Now they come to the second hole, and again, they've hit a good tee shot, but maybe their second shot wasn't as successful. So now all of a sudden, a little bit of stress and anxiety comes up, and ultimately what they end up doing is they're sort of beginnings of an alteration of their pre-shot routine. Now, sometimes one shot won't do it. Sometimes it might take a couple of shots. But most amateurs, if you watch and really pay attention to, will start to deteriorate their pre-shot routine. And ultimately what happens is they lose focus. Now, conversely, if you watch most of the professionals out on the PGA or LPGA tours, and you watch them go through their routine, they will, regardless of good shot or bad shot, they will continue to do that pre-shot routine each and every shot on the golf course. And without fail, they will go through that process. Many times you might have noticed on an event where somebody's gone through their pre-shot routine, they've gotten over the ball and they're ready to hit their shot, and they'll back away. Something has distracted them. It might be a noise. It might be a comfort level over that shot. They will either do one of two things. If they're not certain if the club that they've chosen is the right club, they will reselect a new club. Or if it's just a matter of some other distraction, they will then begin their pre-shot routine all over from start to finish, and then they'll execute the shot. So that's a big takeaway that I think a lot of amateurs should do. And I think that you'll find that if you get into that pattern, you'll start to see more and more consistency, and you'll start to develop a positive mindset. We're going to talk a little bit about that with Debbie when she comes on, because she's really somebody that focuses on being positive, obviously not just on the golf course, but in everyday life. We're going to talk to her a little bit more about that. All right, another thing I want to talk about is some of the course conditions that you might be faced with. So, for instance, if the course is dry, maybe it's extremely dry, a lot of factors come into play. For instance, the ground typically, even though most of the golf courses are watering pretty frequently, but if there's been a drought in the area, as an example, a lot of times they may be under certain water restrictions, and the course can get a little bit dry, a little bit hard. So that's going to affect really how you play the golf course, because if the ground is hard, that means when the golf ball hits, if you're off the tee or hitting your second shot even onto a green, sometimes if the greens are firm or the fairways are firm, the ball is typically going to travel a little bit farther. You're going to get a little extra bounce, a little bit extra roll. So you have to factor that in when you're playing out there. So that's why it's important to really work on some of the fundamentals in that when you get on the practice tee before you actually get on the golf course. That's your practice area. That's what that's there for, is for you to get an idea of how you're going to play that particular day. So you want to get out there in a dry condition, and you want to factor that in and say, okay, if I normally hit my 7-iron, let's say 150 yards, and typically I might get, depending on the conditions, 10 to maybe 15 extra yards of roll, depending on where and the conditions of the course. You might have to factor in a little bit more if you're playing in dry conditions, because again, when the ball hits, it's not going to necessarily stop right away. It's going to roll a little bit, and if the ground is harder, it's going to even roll a little bit further than typical. So you want to understand that. So it's always a good idea to go through your clubs when you get out to the practice tee. That's why it's important to get to the golf course a little bit early so you can test some of these. Now, you don't have to go through every single club. You can kind of do a benchmark, if you will, work with some of your shorter irons, maybe first to warm up in that, get an idea of how they're landing on some of the green targets that are out on your local range. Same thing with your mid irons, like a 7-iron or even an 8-iron. You want to get an idea. And if you're using longer irons or you're using some hybrid clubs, you want to gauge that as well. You want to be able to see how much extra roll and carry you might be getting as a result of dry conditions. And obviously the reverse happens when the course is wet. Maybe you've had some recent rain or a lot of rain and the course is pretty wet. So obviously what's going to happen in a situation like that is you're not going to get as much roll. And sometimes, depending on how much rain or how much moisture has been on the golf course, it may, in some cases, especially out in the fairways, it may actually plug a little bit in some cases, especially with some of your shorter irons. Same thing with the green. If the greens are sufficiently wet, more so than normal, your ball is when it lands, is not going to travel in most cases very, very far. So you have to factor that in. So if normally, if in normal conditions, if you're hitting a shot, let's say the pin is cut in the back, and in firm conditions, you might hit it towards the front or the center of the green and let it sort of roll to the pin. That might be ideal. But in wet conditions, you might have to fly the ball a little bit further. You want to make sure you get it back to the pin because it's going to stop much more quickly than it would in dry conditions. So these are some factors that you have to consider. And I think that when you work on the practice tee or through your lesson program with your fellow golf professional or teaching professional or coach, these are some things that you want to work on. You want to make sure that they're giving you some guidance and some understanding of how the ball is going to be affected under different conditions. And those are just a couple of conditions to give you examples. But you want to be able to do that so that when you get out on the golf course, certainly, again, you're going to work on some of these things when you're on the practice tee, but you want to be prepared. One of the biggest mistakes, and again, I'm sure many of the professionals that we've had on the show can tell you from playing in Pro-Ams, that many of their amateur partners, first and foremost, don't have much of a pre-shot routine. Many of them don't know how to play in different conditions. There's obviously wind conditions as well. Things need to be factored there. They just don't understand how to make adjustments to their game. And more oftenly than not, what they will do is they will react to certain conditions more often than not negatively. So again, for instance, if they are in a windy condition, let's say, they'll start making adjustments sometimes on the fly and not really putting a lot of thought into it. And the problem is then what's happening is they're actually taking their swing out of sync, if you will, and not making sound judgments. So those are some things that you need to keep thoughts about. One of the other things, too, that very quickly that I want to talk about, and that is really spending quality time out on the practice tee, and obviously quality time with your fellow your local teaching professional. Excuse me. One of the things that we see as professionals, Cindy and I, and many of the others that have been on the show, will tell you that you have to practice with a purpose. Many of the amateurs that we work with excuse me, don't seem to practice with any sort of purpose. As I mentioned earlier, they kind of get out there and just sort of rake the balls along and hit shot after shot, and they're not really working on any of the fundamentals, or they're really working on the things that they need to be working on. And I couldn't emphasize enough, I think the pre-shot routine is an area that many, many golfers struggle with. So you want to develop a good pre-shot routine, and this is something that you and your teaching pro or your coach that you're working with can help you develop something that's comfortable for you, that's going to be effective, and that's going to be repeatable. And it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out thing. People sometimes get into too much things in the routine, and I think this is why it becomes difficult and not repeatable. If you look at most of the golf pros on television, they have a very simplified and very basic routine, but it's something that they repeat, and it's identical each and every shot. And that's something, too, that you also have to keep in mind. This is not just something that you do on the first tee and then you forget about the rest of the 18 holes. This is something that you do every shot. Now, obviously, when you're on the putting surface, your routine is going to be slightly different because you're dealing with a ball that's not going to be going airborne, but rather putting along the surface. So there might be some different adjustments that you might make for there, but generally it's going to be the same. You're going to get back, you're going to look at the line of your putt, you're going to address the ball essentially the same way. You're going to come in from behind it, and then you're going to adopt your stance and posture and take a few practice strokes, if you will. So these are things that you want to do, and these are things, folks, to be honest, that you can be working through as we sort of transition for some of you, especially up in the Northeast. I know many of you have been hit with a lot of snow, so you're not making it out. Obviously, the golf season for many of you is pretty much over, but there are some areas, of course, where you've got an indoor facility, like up around where Cindy is, and many of the major markets do have indoor facilities, whether it be a dome or even an inside hitting bay at many of the golf courses and or golf facilities in your area. So you just have to find one that's convenient for you. And this is an opportunity to work on some of these things in your off season. For those of you that don't have the pleasure of coming down here into Florida, where I am, and playing in the winter months, you want to be able to be working on your game and sort of getting some of these things, the fundamentals and so forth, into play, so that when you spring comes back and the courses begin to open up again, then you want to be ready and refreshed. Something else, too, that you want to work on in the off-season is your fitness program. You want to make sure that you're stretching regularly. You want to make sure that you're adopting a sound workout routine and not just a matter of lifting weights and so forth. I strongly urge, and most teaching professionals know somebody now. Obviously, most of them are not. Specifically, some may be qualified as a certified golf teaching professional in physical fitness training, but most of them may have paired up with one or know somebody that is a certified golf fitness instructor. That's somebody that you want to seek out because they have specific areas of physical training that are designed specifically for the golfer in mind. So you want to connect with somebody like that, and they can help you develop a good routine to practice, to get ready, if you will, for a new season, because the worst thing you can do is be sitting on the couch or in the lazy boy for the winter for several months and not getting out there and doing things to keep yourself refreshed. And you can even do things, again, depending on your circumstances at home. Obviously, most surely you can be practicing your putting stroke and things like that. But if you don't have particularly high ceilings, there's a lot of great short clubs on the market that are training aids that you can get, and you can be using that. And I suggest getting a full-length mirror. It doesn't have to be a super wide mirror. It can be maybe a couple of feet wide. You can get one that's maybe 5 feet high, and you can just sort of tilt it against the wall if it's not mounted. And what you can do is you can actually get in front of this mirror and be working through your swing, the different positions that you want to be in to make sure you're transferring your weight and so forth appropriately. So these are things that you can be doing in the winter months. There's no excuse. And obviously, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you're eating well as to giving you that energy so that when you're playing 18 holes, you're not running out of steam come hole number 9. So again, you want to make sure that you look at these different areas in the off season and get yourself better prepared for when the new season comes up. And I promise you, if you do these things, you will play much better. Too many people focus on their ball striking. They don't focus on a lot of these other areas, and they don't realize that everything works together. Obviously, you want to be hitting some solid shots, and those are things that your coach and your teaching professional can help you with. But you also have to work on these other areas as well. Pardon me. So on that note, I want to also say that I think that for most people, if they have not been doing so already, they need to surely reach out to their local teaching professional. You can contact your local golf course that may be close to you. You can go through social media, even see a lot of them that are on different social media links, and you want to reach out and have a conversation with them. Go and meet with them or talk to them on the phone and have some questions prepared. What sort of training have they had? Are they certified? That sort of thing. What sort of credentials do they have? And also, if you know somebody that's played a lot of golf, maybe find out if they have some clients that maybe have referred this particular professional, and talk to them a little bit as well. Maybe you've got some friends that have been taking golf lessons from a particular professional for years, and they're quite happy with their performance. Talk to them about them. Get a little bit of background, if you will, on that particular individual, and then go and meet with them. And they'll put you through an assessment. They'll talk to you about some of the areas that they've uncovered through that assessment that maybe you need some help with. And then don't be afraid to be honest and have an upfront conversation with them and say, look, these are some areas that I'm currently struggling with, and what can we do to, what can you do to help me on these areas? And I guarantee they will put together a good plan. And don't forget the nutrition and also the physical fitness. Have a conversation with them about that as well. And as I said, some may have specific credentials in the fitness side as well. Some may even in the nutritional side. Most don't. But you can certainly have that conversation with them, and they can more than likely or not, especially in this day and age, probably put you in touch with somebody that can maybe help you out in those areas as well. All right, Debbie is going to be joining us here in a few moments, but in the meantime, I want to take this opportunity to share a short audio clip from Cindy Miller on all of you business professionals out there that may be interested in connecting with her and learning how some of the benefits of playing golf can help your business life.
Everyone knows business deals are made on the golf course. Knowing how to act is just as important as how you hit it. As an LPGA professional and corporate trainer, I offer workshops, seminars, and executive retreats to teach you how to do both. From the back nine to the boardroom, improve your team from the inside out, or Golf 101 for executives might be the perfect fit for your team. Maybe it's time to make some deals on the course. For more information, go to cindymillerinc.com.
All right, and remember to go to cindymillerinc.com at the end of the show, and she's got all of her contact information. Cindy is one of the best in the industry. She's just a very knowledgeable professional and just a first-class person that has been not only a player on the LPGA and now the Legends Tour, but has been teaching golf for many, many years with her lifetime PGA member husband, Alan Miller. Together, they've gone out and done some great things. They've got some boot camps that are going to be coming up in the new year. And when Cindy comes back on, I believe next week, then I'll get her to share some of those upcoming dates. And if there's availabilities, you might want to sign up for that. She does a great job. It's going to be tough. I mean, it's not an easy boot camp, but I promise you that it'll be well worth the money to go. They're a great couple. They're very passionate about helping many golfers out there play their best golf. And the only way you can do that is to get out there, practice, learn from some of the best out there, and then put it into practice, as I said. All right, before I introduce this morning's guest, I want to just remind everybody, for those of you that maybe joined a little bit later in the broadcast, next week and the week after are going to be the last two shows here on the Women of Golf show for this season. We'll be taking an extended break until the beginning of February, the first Tuesday of February. So we'll be breaking here in just a couple of weeks. December 17th actually will be the last show for the Women of Golf for 2019. And then as I'm looking here, February 4th, I knew that was around the 4th, February 4th will be the first date that will be coming back on air. So we've taken an extended break, obviously, to enjoy the holidays and spend time with family and friends, and also regroup, if you will, with some of our fellow professionals and get this new schedule started. So we'll be breaking. Last show of the season is going to be December 17th, and then we'll be back live on air here on the blogtalkradio.com network on February the 4th. And also, as I mentioned, the other program that I do Thursday nights, which is Golf Talk Live, that will be ending on December 19th, will be the last show, and then on February the 6th will be the first live show coming back in 2020. So I hope you stay tuned for those, and I hope you continue to enjoy it. And in the meantime, what you can do is if you've missed any of the live broadcasts, you can go to either blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf or /Golf Talk Live. And if you click the follow button on that main page, you can actually get updated notifications in your inbox on your email address. It will automatically send you notifications, and you can be aware of any upcoming guests and shows and things like that. And it's a great way to follow the program. And at the end of this show, I'm going to play the outro clip, which will also have some other great ways that you can follow into the show as well. All right, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about our guest this morning, or my guest, should I say. Debbie O'Connell is a LPGA professional. She's also a keynote speaker, author, and entrepreneur, and a 26-year-plus veteran of the women's professional golf and an LPGA Class A teaching and club professional. She is a dynamic, engaging, entertaining, and knowledgeable speaker and leadership advocate. Her energy, passion, and authentic positive nature motivates and inspires her audiences to have the courage to strive to reach their full potential in all areas of life. She's a seasoned media professional and is the co-host of the host of the recently launched Game Time Golf Positive channel for Audible, an Amazon-owned company, and she's also had multiple appearances on the Golf Channel and hosted numerous golf-oriented radio shows as well as television show Par for the Course. As I mentioned, she's an author. Her first book, Golf Positive, Live Positive, is available. We'll tell you about how you can get her hot little hands on that before the holidays. And she also is the founder CEO of Golf Positive LLC. So let me welcome the special guest this morning, Debbie O'Connell. Good morning, Debbie. How are you?
Much. Oh, my gosh. I am fabulous. Thank you for that amazing introduction.
Well, thank you for having such an amazing accolades that it made it so easy for me to introduce you. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And I'm going to extend a quick apology. Unfortunately, Cindy is not going to be able to join us. I didn't know if you knew that up front or not, but she is actually heading to Milwaukee and is actually going to be probably on flight right now. And we were going to have her on for a few minutes, but it turned out that the reception wasn't that good on her end in the airport, which obviously happens quite a bit. So she had to bail and sends her apologies, but I'll make sure that the next time we have you on that she's here. So you're stuck with Ted, but hey, we'll make the best of it.
I think we'll get through, Ted. We'll be good.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm very excited to have you on the show. I know I've followed you through social media quite a bit for the last several years, particularly since I've been doing these programs, and very, very excited to have you on. But I want to go back a little bit, if you don't mind, before we get into Golf Positive, Live Positive, your book, and some other things. I want you to maybe just explain to the audience a little bit some of the things that particularly that you enjoy about being an LPGA teacher professional.
The people. First and foremost, I love my colleagues as well. Whenever we get together, it's like a family comes together, and I get to connect and reconnect, and I'm constantly learning, which is one thing I love to do in life. I am asking questions when I'm with my colleagues, and what works for you? How did you shift that person's mindset on the golf course? What worked when they were struggling with this? I'm constantly learning. So that part of it's amazing for me, and just being in the LPGA particularly. And then for golf as a profession, the people I teach, my clients. I was a head golf professional for 15 years, at 3 different golf courses, and each one had its own uniqueness about it, and the people were all amazing. And that's the part I love. I love when I started, many people with the game of golf as a brand new golfer, and I've watched them grow from being totally afraid to even walk into the pro shop to going out and playing in the men's league or the ladies league and having a ball, and then watching them at the luncheon and winning an award and for the most improved, or for best score, or most birdies, or whatever. And watching that progress that people make has just been so fun for me. And then just that interaction. So often during a golf lesson, you want to get to know the person, because you want to know if they have these limiting beliefs that are holding them back, or what their experience has been in life that they may be bringing to the golf course that you can possibly shift so they have more confidence and a better mindset, or what athletics they've played. And you hear these stories, and it's so neat when people just open up and share with you. And sometimes you become a psychologist out there, and you're supporting them because there was something that they didn't share with anybody else. And I've had that experience where they said something, I've never told this to anyone, but it was something that was really meaningful to them. And to gain that closeness with the people has been incredible for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think the other thing too, Debbie, is, you develop a sort of a trust level and a very unique relationship with your students, because they obviously are coming to you to draw from your experiences and from some of the different lessons, if you will, that you're going to provide to them. But they're actually opening up to you and becoming very vulnerable at times with their game, because obviously you're going to see very quickly just what level they're at once they start actually hitting some golf balls. So they obviously have to be honest first and foremost with you, and you kind of get an insight to their character a little bit as a teach professional. It's kind of interesting, especially if you do a playing lesson. And I've always, I do a lot of corporate events and things like that throughout the year. And one of the things is golf teaches you integrity. We're going to talk about some of the life lessons here in just a moment. But it teaches you about integrity. And, a lot of times you'll see whether or not, especially if you play in some sort of a corporate event, you'll see who the people are that play by the rules and the ones that, kind of cheat a little bit. And I hate to use that term, but they do. And it tells you a lot about their character. And no other sport that I'm aware of gives you that insight, for being able to see how somebody handles themselves out in the golf course, because quite often how they handle themselves out there is how they're going to handle themselves in life. So it gives you a unique opportunity, perspective to see that. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that interaction with folks. And I think that you do an interesting job at not just teaching them the fundamentals of the game, but approaching things from a little bit different than what maybe some do. And I want to read a testimonial, and then I want you to respond to it. This is a testimonial from your website that I got here recently, and I want to read it out, and then I'm going to sort of form a question out of that. Debbie's teaching and messages equip everyone to believe anything is possible. As importantly, she equips you with concrete, practical tools and techniques to make anything possible. She also provides great advice on how to become more resilient along the way. And here's the key thing. Debbie lives what she teaches, so you see it in action. Why is that important for you to live what you preach?
That's an awesome question, Ted. Thank you for that. I feel it's important for me to be the example for people around me. That's friends and family. That's people I teach, people who look up to me, people who want to learn from me, because I don't feel comfortable encouraging someone to do something that I haven't done myself. And a lot of my teaching is in the mental game area. I also have a company called Live Positive. And right now, as a matter of fact, I'm in the middle of doing a program called Positive Vision 2020. And when I'm going through exercises, they're exercises I've done. There are things that have worked for me. And when I encourage people to get coaching, I get coaching. I have a golf pro right now that I'm working with on my game because I plan on qualifying for the U.S. Women's Senior Open in 2020. So I'm working on my game, and I have a coach that I work with. The mindset part, I have exercises I do. When I talk about how being physically fit will give you energy to achieve your goals and help you be more resilient, I better be in shape, right? Because I'm not just going to stand there and say that and not take care of myself and find out, is that statement true? So what I like to do is actually experiment on that and see is what I'm telling people the truth. So I get myself in shape, I eat healthy, and I wake up with energy, and I have passion and purpose throughout the day, and I have this excitement about me, and I feel healthy, and I feel light and energized. So yes, this works. So I encourage people, if you have a goal to set, if you're looking at what goals am I going to set for 2020, what am I going to reach? If health and fitness is one area that you're lacking in, make that your first one, because then everything else will truly fall in place. So that's an example of something. So in all the different areas of life, I have life coaches, I have business coaches, I have my golf pro. I just believe so much in coaching. So when I'm coaching others and I say, take me on this journey with you, allow me to coach you, I can say that confidently because I've invested in me. I've put the time in me. When I say, well, I would suggest you take a series of 10 lessons, because that can take you from here to here and we continue on this journey together, and coaching is important. Well, it's because I've done that. And I know the value of it. And I've also have proof of it because I've seen it in my other clients and I've seen it in my students, the one who stick with coaching and they're consistent. Well, they're consistent in their growth, whether it's personal growth, whether it's, golf skills getting better, scores getting lower, whatever area when they're consistent in their coaching and in their execution plan, they're going to get better results.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of people don't realize that as teacher professionals, coaches, what have you, we also are on a continual learning journey as well. Just because we may or may not be certified or have different accolades, if you will, we have to go to somebody as well and get, whether it be a refresher course or updated or what have you, so that we can then bring our best to the students. It's not just, we went and learned how to, teach golf one day and then that's it for the rest of our lives. We have to continually keep pushing ourselves to get better and to understand, because, I think what the golf industry is starting to learn today, Debbie, is that we are all uniquely different, that one size doesn't fit all. So we have to have a little bit more broader understanding of not only our teaching, but how the game is played from a lot of different perspectives. I want to ask you something, keeping on the positive side here for a second, because obviously we all have our good days and our bad days. So what do you do, or what do you say to yourself each day when you get up that keeps you in that positive mindset?
Well, I have a morning routine that I do every single day, and it's automatic and it's trained because it's a habit now. When the alarm goes off or when my eyes open up, the first thing I ask is, what am I thankful for? And that, for me, puts life in perspective. And I start with my friends and family, people I love and people who love me every morning. And I think about those people in my life and the relationships I have in my life. And then I'll go to something else. I might one morning think, I'm so thankful I can see. I'm so thankful I can walk. I'm so thankful I can hear. I might go in that direction. This morning I did a live webinar, and I was thankful for the opportunity to share all my knowledge and the studies I've done for the last 30 years that I put them in this program, and I got to share it with people. I was thankful that people were on there, and I had the opportunity to possibly influence their life in a positive way. That was this morning. One morning I thought of chairs for some reason, Ted. It was the funniest thing. So I was like, what am I thankful for? And chairs came to mind. I'm like, chairs are really cool. We can sit and have meals with other people. Cindy's sitting on a chair right now traveling to somewhere. And I thought about when I was a kid and we had these cool little this chair. It was, you sit in it, but it had wheels on it, which I don't think they make anymore because I think some kids were rolling around before they could walk and they were going over some stairs. But when I was a kid, I was in that. So before I could walk, I could kind of run around in that little thing. I'm like, that was the coolest chair ever. So it was a fun little thing. We start with that. And then I do a little meditation. It's not crazy long. It's just a meditation to get myself kind of grounded and connected. And then I get up and I yell, Ted, I say, who's ready to start the day? So start with energy right away. And I kind of do a motivational speech with my two cats. And I'll look and I'll say, little girl, are you ready to start today? Little boy, are you ready to start today? We're going to make today amazing. So I know that's probably like people are maybe rolling their eyes and think that's crazy, but that's how I start my day. And I realize, too, that I am truly in charge of how I feel. You know, Ted, our thoughts will influence how we feel. And we have over 70,000 thoughts a day. And our thoughts will do that. So if we're thinking negative thoughts and ungrateful thoughts and we're complaining and all that, we're not going to feel very happy. But if we think about what we're grateful for, if we think about, you know, where we're going and what we're going to achieve and who we might meet today and the adventures ahead and your learning experiences and that you are loved and that you can see or you can walk if you can. I mean, you may have people listening who don't have those things, and how fortunate we are, then you're going to feel happier. So I always remember that I am truly in charge of how I feel. Now, does that mean I never go get down or sad or frustrated? No, but I know that I can choose to either stay there or I can pop myself out of it.
Yeah, and that's hugely important. And a lot of people might, you know, again, sort of be thinking about this. Well, that's great, but how does that sort of translate into golf? Well, you speak your own truth. You know, if you're speaking or your thought process is always in a negative mindset, you're going to take that wherever you go. And we're going to talk about that now in life, but particularly out in the golf course. If you believe that you're not going to play well today, well, 9 times out of 10, you're not likely going to play very well. So you believe, as I do, that, you know, about being positive, and obviously not only does it translate in the golf course, but everyday life. And you wrote a book, as I mentioned earlier, Golf Positive, Live Positive, Lessons in Golf and Life. So I believe wholeheartedly with that. What are some of the lessons, if you will, that you've learned through golf?
Oh, so many lessons through golf. You know, golf has those ups and downs, right? Where, and I'll tell you a story from years ago. Before I really understood this concept, I played other sports. I was an athletic person throughout my life. I still am. And I played college basketball. I played softball in high school. So I had success in those arenas. And I get to golf, and it's really challenging. And I'm struggling with golf unlike I ever have in other sports. And I remember this one round of golf where I just beat myself up the whole time. I was just, no matter what. And then I'd hit a shot and I'd be like, see? Now, I knew I was going to hit a bad ball. Well, of course I was going to. And then I was getting more frustrated. I was getting tighter. There was no way the ground was going to get better because I kept putting myself down. I kept getting angry. I kept getting frustrated. And it was miserable for me, and I'm sure it was even more miserable for the people I was playing with. And I woke up that day. After that round, I was so embarrassed that I looked in the mirror first at myself, and I said, I am so sorry for the way I treated you today. I will never do that again. And I made that promise to myself, and then I went and apologized. I said to everyone I played with, I said, I am so sorry the way I acted, but you know what? I learned a great lesson today. I'll never do that again. And then from then on, I got more coaching on it. I read more books. I've read all those, you know, from the Power of Positive Thinking to with Norman Vincent Peale to Zig Ziglar's to Tony Robbins to, you know, and continue today to continue to learn and be that person and learn the new. It's, you know, you talk about why we need to keep learning. Well, technology and research continues to happen, so there's always more to learn. But from that day on, I learned that lesson, and now, I may say something like, oh, I could do better than that, you know, which is a positive statement. I feel like I kick myself in the butt a little like, oh, Debbie, you better than that. But it's still a positive, and I can move forward from a shot. Or, hey, this will be an amazing par, even though I just sliced it into the woods. This will be amazing par for me. If I'm going to hit the great next shot. And I'd continue to focus on the next shot and continue to get better. But positive thinking on the golf course is truly a game changer. You know, there's a study about post-shot reaction. You know how people have a pre-shot routine, which is important, right? And you want to get in your pre-shot routine. You want to visualize your shot. You want to do the same thing over and over. You want to get set. You want to have a quiet mind. Once you step over the ball, look at the target and swing. And then look at the target, back to the ball, and then swing, but picture the target. So then afterwards, if you have a negative reaction, it actually will take 10 good shots with that club to erase the negative reaction. And the more emotion you put into a reaction, the more you remember it in the amygdala in the brain. So if you have emotional negative reactions, guess what happens the next time you pick up that club? Your brain remembers what happened last time. And that's what it thinks this club will do, because that's the memory you've connected. Now, if you have positive reactions, you do the opposite. You hit it well. Or a neutral reaction is even fine. But your post-shot reaction is as important as your pre-shot routine to set yourself up for continued success on the golf course.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I talked about before you came on a little bit about that. And one of the things, that I notice when you watch sort of professional golfers as opposed to our amateur golfers, the pros, if you see them out and around, and obviously we all hit bad shots, they hit bad shots too. Obviously we don't always see them because sometimes the camera, isn't always focused on them, but they do hit bad shots. But the interesting thing is, to go to your point, is they don't get out of their pre-shot routine. When the next shot comes, that shot that just happened, doesn't matter what happened, they'll regroup, they'll refocus, and they'll go through that routine again. And they'll do that through their entire round, and they will not deal with any negative emotions out there. I'm sure they're unsettled and they're unhappy about it, but they're not going to let it creep into the rest of the round. And the difference is, when we see amateur golfers, even if they start out good, maybe for the first few holes, they're doing their pre-shot routine, suddenly the wheels fall off the bus and, all hell breaks loose. And next thing you know, they're not doing the routines anymore, and they're just sort of going through the motions around the golf course. And that is obviously a discipline that the professionals have, that they've developed over years. And I think a lot of our amateurs don't get that. They just, again, they let those, as you pointed out, they let those negative thoughts start creeping in. And instead of focusing on the shot at hand, they're thinking about shots, 2 or 3 holes ago, where they maybe made a triple bogey. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%, and it does take them out of the pre-shot routine. And a lot of times people get out of the pre-shot routine because they didn't believe from the beginning that they could play that well. I've been in pro-ams, and I've played with people where they've done this, and it happens more with women than men. I'll be in a pro-am with a guy, and he's playing great, like over his head. You got a 25 handicapper making pars and birdies, and he's like, yeah, that's my game. He's all confident going forward. You have a woman do that, and she comes out, and she goes par. She maybe makes the chips in for a birdie, and she's like, this is what the woman will say, this isn't me. I don't know who this is, but the real me will show up sooner. Don't expect this the rest of the day. So, it's that confidence and belief. But I've heard, I can't even tell you, Ted, how many times I've heard a woman make excuses for playing well instead of taking it as, I hit those shots. I did that. Wow, this is me. This is the real me on the golf course. I can do this. Instead of going with the positive, and that's where what you said, starting off well, the wheels start to fall off. Sometimes the wheels fall off because of the lack of belief that they can play as well as they're playing, instead of staying in the moment and saying, okay, stay in this moment, just hit this one shot right here, one shot at a time, and gain confidence from the past good shots, but don't be afraid of them either. So it's both ways. And then when the wheels start to fall off, they're more, a lot of these women, they're more confident. See, this is me. This is my game. I'm back. Which is crazy, because she actually just talked herself into playing poor golf because she was uncomfortable playing really good golf. So, the mind game out there on the golf course is just amazing. And it's the same in life. People have limiting beliefs. One limiting belief that many people know is money is the root of all evil, right? We've heard that saying, or money only goes to money. Money doesn't grow on trees. We hear all this stuff that money's bad. Well, someone could be starting to make money, started their own business, or got a promotion, and then their brain's like, wait a minute, we don't believe money's a good thing, and we've got all this money coming in. Sometimes we self-sabotage. So it's important to look at where your beliefs are. And then what I always tell people with golf is, we just need to, not only do we need to just make you better and physically better with your golf performance skills and your game and how you play your game and all those disciplines like the pre-shot routine, and we have you doing that, but we also have to get you to start believing you can shoot lower scores. So when you're out there and you're playing good golf, that you continue to play good golf and don't sabotage it.
Again, you're 100% right. What's interesting is, in what you just said about how so many people get out there and they sabotage a good round. It goes to like what I said earlier, is you speak your own truth. And if you feel that you're not going to play well or you're not going to do well, then ultimately that's what you're going to attract. And, as teach professionals, I think, it's important, obviously, to instill the fundamentals and the basics of the game, but really it's helping golfers adapt a positive mindset, I think, is the more challenging. Teaching them the fundamentals is actually the easy part of golf instruction. Teaching them how to hit the ball solid and so on and so forth is actually the easier part. It's helping them take that knowledge to the golf course, and particularly having that positive mindset, because you're right. It's amazing. You can go out there and they'll have a couple of great holes, and then all of a sudden something will happen, and it's like their whole demeanor changes. And it's like, well, wait a minute, where'd this person come from? And as you said, you're exactly right, because I've worked many times, especially with corporate partners, both men and women. And you're right, the men will, embellish and as I always put, BS a little bit more. The women will be very, will literally speak the truth. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Women are much more honest about their game, and as you said, they'll have some success out there, and it's, well, this is not me. I don't know what's going on here. I must have done something last night, and then all of a sudden a bad shot. Yeah, that's me. That's normally what my typical experience is out here in the golf course, and it's like they kick the ladder out from, or the stool out from underneath themselves every single time. So really, as teach professionals and coaches, we have to really help to instill that positive mindset. And I can't think of anybody that does a better job than you do, and that's why I really love that you've done this book. Where can the folks, if they're interested, obviously we've got Christmas coming up, is there an opportunity they can still get their hot little hands on a copy of this book, and if so, where do they go to do it?
Yeah, Amazon. It's on Amazon. If you go on to Amazon and just search Golf Positive, Live Positive, it will come right up, and they ship it pretty quickly. So, yeah, there's plenty of time for you to get it for a holiday gift for anybody, and the lessons in there are neat, because I go through fundamentals of golf, and so the chapter I teach the pitch shot, I talk about getting over obstacles, that we want to hit the ball in the air to get possibly over a bunker, and the different areas where you use it. And then the question is, how well do you get over obstacles in life? So the challenges that come up in your life when you have a tough day, whether it's a little thing like getting through rush hour traffic that could possibly frustrate you and making that situation a better situation, to when you have, a heart-wrenching experience that's challenging, how to get over obstacles in your life. So that's the kind of thing I do. When I talk about putting, I talk about short-term goals and how to set short-term goals, but there's a whole putting lesson in there as well. So it is truly life lessons as well as golf lessons. It's a really fun thing. If you have a golf enthusiast in your life, and even people who need some positivity in life, I've had people read the book who are not golfers and loved it, and they love the life lesson part of the book as well. So, yeah, it's on Amazon. Just search Golf Positive, Live Positive, and it will pop up for you.
Perfect. Well, I would strongly encourage all of the listeners to do that. Get yourself a copy. Get somebody that you love a copy. Get a lot of copies. In fact, it's Christmas time. Let's be generous. Let's give. And I can't think of a better gift to give. Well, Debbie, I want to thank you very much for joining me this morning. Very quickly before we wrap up, let the folks know if they want to reach out to you personally, how they can get in touch with you, if they want to work with you, or they want to connect some way. What's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. You can check out my website. I actually have two right now because I've built a new one, but that one's Debbie-O'Connell.com. And then if you go on golfpositive.com, you can also get me there. So those are the best ways. You could email me at Debbie, and that's DEBBIE, at Debbie-O'Connell.com, and that's OCONNELL.com. So Debbie at Debbie-O'Connell.com would be the best way. And truly, tell Cindy, if I don't reach out to her myself, that I was disappointed that she wasn't on. I did not know that. You were amazing, Ted, though, and I'm thankful for you. And I look forward to coming back and being able to chat with Cindy as well.
Perfect. Well, we will definitely have you on the new year. We're going to keep us updated on your journey to play in the LPGA Senior Open next year. I know you're going to go to qualify for that. So good luck with that. Let us know how you make out. Definitely, we will have you back on the new year, and I will make sure that that Cindy is available. And again, my apologies that she wasn't able to make it this morning. But thank you for being a great guest, and you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you so much, Ted. Have an amazing day, and everybody have a fabulous holiday as well. Can you believe it? We're December 3rd already. Have a super day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, that was special guest Debbie O'Connell, LPGA professional, speaker, and author of the book Golf Positive, Live Positive, Lessons in Golf and Life. And as she mentioned, you can just search that on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com and just search under the books, Golf Positive, Live Positive, and you can get your several copies if you want, and they'll ship it out pretty quick so you have in time to give to somebody for Christmas or for yourself, maybe a special treat for yourself. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning to the Women of Golf Show. We appreciate it very, very much, and we look forward to you continuing to join us here, as I mentioned, for a couple of more shows this season. We've really enjoyed many of the guests, especially many of our player guests from the Symetra Tour. We're going to be lining them up again for the new season for next year. We really enjoyed having these young ladies, but all of our guests, we've had a lot of enjoyment and pleasure bringing these shows to you each and every week. So on behalf of Cindy Miller, I'm Ted Odorico. Thank you for tuning into the Women of Golf Show. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening this morning to the Women of Golf Show. Tune in live each week by visiting blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. If you can't join us live, check out our on-demand section for previously aired broadcasts. To get updates for future shows and upcoming guests, you can follow us on Facebook at Women of Golf. You can also follow me on Twitter at Ted and Buck CEO and Cindy at Cindy Miller Golf. Please remember to join us next week on the Women of Golf Show. See you next time. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.